Hi, and welcome to Cover Brand, where we cover all things branding, marketing, and advertising to help you understand what the hell branding is and how it works to grow your business. Welcome and welcome back to Cover Brand. I'm Ethan Decker, your host. Today, I have my good friend Amelia on the show. Amelia, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Sunny day.
Yes, it's beautiful. I have to ask you, first of all, to tell people how we met.
We met because I was brought by a friend of a friend to your garage for a speakeasy, really fun evening where we got into a long, deep conversation and then instant friendship happened.
It was Italian night at the Speakeasy.
Yes,
There were, what, three of
exactly.
you
So
who were
we
Italian?
were actually maybe four of us, and we
Nice.
were all dressed up like speakeasy era, 1920s. We were loud and we were having a lot of fun, and it was like really
It was molto bene.
fun evening. Yes, yes,
Molto bene. Prego. So today, I'm really excited to talk to you about your challenges and your issues and your business, but most people have no clue who you are. So why don't you tell folks listening a little bit about yourself and what you're facing?
great. So I am a new brand. So I am entering this world coming from the left side of my brain. I was in corporate, I was in innovation, I was in academia for a long time. So utilizing a lot of my left brain. And I find myself in this second stage of my career trying to bring in all my sort of orphan talent, let's say,
Uh-huh.
that I have collected along the way, my 10,000 hour skills
Uh-huh.
in writing, in photography, in ancient wisdom, in culinary education. I'm trying to bring all of these like side skill sets under one cohesive umbrella.
I'm
And I'm
amazed you didn't find homes for ancient wisdom in corporate consulting. Shocker.
yes, touche. Exactly. So, well, I tried, I tried in corporate to find my way to innovation, which was the most, possibly the most like sort of creative area
Mhm.
within corporate. And then I found myself weaving back into academia, founding a center for entrepreneurship and innovation there, but then struggling into the other schools and finding myself into the ethics school and into the museum of the
Right.
university. So constantly this,
Meandering,
yeah,
wandering,
meandering, wandering, and
wandering and
finding
wandering.
myself constantly struggling between these two fields, which brings me to where I am right now as a brand. Z Tasty Life is an umbrella that carries on a number of these different areas of my right brain. But I struggle to communicate that because I am the porter of all these skills.
Mhm.
And what I am truly trying to do is to bring people into soulful journeys across these different sensorial experiences,
Mhm.
using mind, heart, and soul through travel, through local experiences. So I contain multitudes, like Walt
Right.
Whitman said, right?
Yes,
And
yes.
so this is really hard for a brand. So I need your help, Ethan. I need your help. How do I like wrangle all these orphan children of mine that I that are,
Yeah.
weaving out there, but I know there is something there. I know
Tell
there's a need for that.
yeah, tell me again the name of the company you've started.
Z, like letter Z,
Uh-huh.
tasty life. So back in the
Z Tasty.
days when I'll tell you the story because I
Uh-huh.
was looking for the tastylife.com domain, which
Sure.
didn't exist. And then I played along with my Italian accent, and the is hard to pronounce for us Italians. So it
Yes.
turned into Z. So
Z
Z,
Tasty Life.
the letter Z is very much like my sort of like brand letter,
Uh-huh.
if you will.
Your
Yeah.
signature, so to speak.
Yes. Z like
Okay.
Zorro.
Yeah. Oh, I like that. I like that. So you've got a couple things. First of all, I love this notion of transitioning from the left brain logical world of corporate consulting and corporate and business strategy and entrepreneurship to the right brain world of ancient wisdom, culinary experiences, multisensory experiences and trips and travel and photography and all those things. Yes. That in itself trips up 99% of the people who try to do that. Because when you come from that left brain logical world of business and strategy and consulting, you always want things to be precise.
Yes.
And you want them to stay in their box, to stay in their containers. And when you get to the right brain side, it's all spilling over from place to place and nothing stays in the right container. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen, I'm sure you've seen an actual artist's studio, like a visual.
Yes, totally. Yeah.
It's
And actually I have a studio because I also splatter all over the place like a
a
Pollock.
mess. It's a shit
Yes.
show.
Yeah.
There's paint on everything. Every paintbrush has more paint on it than they use to paint with, it seems. Like they're caked. There's paint
Mhm.
everywhere.
Yeah.
So yes, that drives a lot of left brain people nutso. So kudos to you for not getting tripped
Mhm.
up on that first step. But for you to then try and think about a brand or a business, you probably have those same tendencies of, well, what's the one thing? What's the
Mhm.
logical structure? What holds it all together?
Mhm.
And in talking with folks recently about the difference between like a personal brand and a corporate brand, it's become pretty clear that there are some kind of nuances or differences between being a corporate brand like Coca-Cola or Starbucks and being a personal brand like, well, here's a good example, Oprah,
Mhm.
right? Oprah is a brand in a way.
Yeah.
She is a she is a force to reckon with. And
People
she
come for her
started,
energy, and she's a collector of people, and
yes.
that is very important in a brand, right?
Hmm.
And that I also love to do that. So
Yeah.
that's I love that. Obviously, I mean, so much respect for Oprah,
Yep.
and but I'm inspired by that energy.
Yeah, it's a great energy and it's a good example. And actually, let's at this point, Oprah can do anything she wants in some
Yes.
ways, right?
Yeah.
She can sell frying pans, she can sell apparel, she can run media empires and have TV networks in her name, which she does.
Hmm.
And it all spills over and spills out of this overall Oprah energy of empowerment and taking on life and dealing with your demons. And so people kind of know that of her and expect that of her. And we kind of treat humans this way because humans are not in boxes and only one thing. And we are all kind of messy and we spill out of our own containers. So when you're thinking about a personal brand, there is that end goal, that opportunity, and that ability for the brand of Amelia to be a lot of different things,
Hmm.
you know? Now, it doesn't always start that way. And in
Hmm.
fact, for a personal brand, it usually starts by being famous for one thing. And
Hmm.
that's really helpful. So, what's the one thing you start with that is then the place you move from? For instance, Oprah, I think she started with being a talk show host.
Hmm.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's where it started. Um, and now she can do a bajillion things. Similarly, in a more modern understanding of it, or a great example from modern days, is Brene Brown.
Yeah.
Brene Brown, at this point, can kind of do anything she wants, and she's done a variety of things. But she started by being a professor who focused on one topic, and that topic was vulnerability, and how
Yeah.
being vulnerable is a brave thing, and how we need more of it in the world.
Totally.
So she had that kind of, it's the tip of the spear, the prow of the icebreaker ship that gives people something to grab onto that is singular. And you're right. It's hard, Amelia, when you got multitudes and people don't know what to grab onto.
Yeah. Yeah.
But when you give them one thing to grab onto, it's easier.
Yeah.
Have you heard of Call Her Daddy?
Nope. No, no, I haven't.
It's
Tell me.
a it's a podcast and it's a show, and I am completely forgetting her name. Let me look it up right now. Call Her Daddy podcast by Alex Cooper. Alex Cooper is a force of nature. She's got TV shows now and all kinds of other things. So she's spreading out.
Mm.
She's spilling out into all kinds of things. But as far as I can tell, she started with something that was sharp, like the prow of an ice breaking boat in the Arctic ice, which was two young women talking about sex in a very candid way on a show. And the show
Mhm.
itself, the podcast, was called Call Her Daddy, which is
Mhm.
a riff on the, the phrase, "Hey, call me daddy." And they got lewd, and they got explicit, and they also got raw, and talked about these real experiences of being young women and the world of sex and dating and life. And so it was a very specific thing she started with that broke the ice for her career. And now she has expanded it to a lot of other things. So, in that regard, I would say as you get into this messy world of your own
Mhm.
personal expression and all the multiple things you want to do, is there one thing that might be your icebreaker, that the tip of the spear that people can grab onto and see as one thing as opposed to a million? What do you think?
And that's a great question. I love stories
Mhm.
and I love helping people tell their story.
Mhm.
So this translates to bringing together things that I know about the past myths and how they inform how people can see their life in a different way. It
Mhm.
brings together my photography, like so more like the photojournalism approach of my
Right.
photography, my writing skills. And in some cases, I think it also brings people on journeys, right?
Yeah.
It can be this travel journey. So going to real experiences in real places, like my home country, Italy, or
Uh-huh.
it can be like traveling in place, right? Where I can bring people together to experience their life in a new way that's
Mm.
more mythological. So I
Mm.
like, I'm very much a dreamer. I'm very much an air sort of person. So I will always gravitate towards imagination. So when I see a scene, I typically imagine a lot more of things that are happening around it. And so
Mm.
when I talk to people, I like recounting the whole invisible parts of what they're
Right.
experiencing. So,
Mm.
for example, I'll put together books of their experience that
Uh-huh.
tells a lot more than what actually happened in real place.
What's an example of one of these books?
So I brought a whole family of 14 people to Sicily to track back their roots to
Mm.
Sicily. They're Americans, but with roots to Sicily.
Okay.
And through immersive experiences across the land and across time and across food and across like just the landscape, they were able to see their ancestry in a much different way that maybe they had just gone on a regular trip.
Oh,
And
wow.
so putting that sort of in context and narrating that mythological journey, if you will, to something that was so removed from their current present, but
Mm.
bringing them back into that past, I think is an example of how this can work. So they get a book with the journey that they've been
Mm.
on, with the feelings, the emotions, the stories, the quotes. Um, the land, seen in a different way, seen in a
Wow.
way that's a bit more mythological, if you will.
And it sounds like that went well.
Hmm.
It sounds like she liked it.
Hmm.
That first of all, it's a really neat idea, and it's a powerful way to help people tell their stories. That could be a thing. It could be
Yes.
your thing,
Yeah.
right? It could
Yeah.
be that prow of the boat that
Hmm.
says, "Oh, this is what Amelia is about. She's a storyteller that helps people tell their stories in multimedia ways."
Yes.
That are
I
these
love.
little books.
Yeah.
And it seems like it's narrow compared to all the things you might want to get into and do and experience. But if you just did this and if it became a
Hmm.
thing, it could be
Hmm.
all consuming and be a full-time job and be a multi-million dollar business on its own,
Yes. Yeah. And
right?
then exactly. And to give you an example, the whole storytelling part, I think, is so important because
Mhm.
it takes us outside of where we are and it
Yeah.
expands our horizon. Yesterday, I met with a small starting brand.
Mhm.
And was there to photograph this duo that's starting this company. But the whole exercise, it wasn't just, I'm going to take photos of you. We spent some time really digging into what do you want to be, kind of like what you're doing with me, but
Yeah.
so that I could understand their voice. What
Sure.
does the brand want to convey? And then we got into taking photos of this duo And it was a different experience than if I just come in and did
Right.
that shot, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because it's more personal. It's more
Yeah.
multi-layered, right?
Yes. Yes.
It's funny. You remind me of the fact my wife got breast cancer a while ago and wrote a little book called My Breast Cancer Story. And it was that notion of how do you express something that's important, exercise it from you, so to speak, get it out into the world, share it, and do it in a
Yes.
multimedia way that's more than just writing. Not that writing
Yes.
is writing,
And
but
and what is so fascinating to me, there's a psychological aspect to this. I've been reading a lot of Jung and a lot of other psychologists, but there's one psychologist named McAdams, and he found that people that tell their story in different ways are actually more balanced and happier
mm,
overall. So I do this exercise for myself a lot of
yeah,
times. And I think it's important, like, so the way that you tell your story is actually the way your life is,
yeah,
right? And so I think it's important
yeah.
for a brand too.
So that in itself seems like a whole business. Seems like a row in the field that you could plow
Mm,
for a while and not even deal with maybe some of the other things like travel businesses
yeah,
or just photography or other things that you might want to do, but it
yeah.
would give your business focus so that when
Mhm,
people were looking for something in their life,
mhm.
they knew that this is what they would turn to you for.
Yeah.
There is a notion, it's a great notion that people don't think about brands first. They think about jobs they got to get done in their life first.
Mhm, mhm.
And there's this theory called jobs to be done.
Yep.
And it's a very engineering approach to goals.
Yeah.
Humans have goals. I'm
Yeah.
hungry. I need
Yeah.
food. I'm
Yeah.
tired. I need to sleep. I'm horny. I want sex. Right? I'm pent up. I need to express myself. Whatever those goals are, I have a hole in the wall. I need to patch the hole in the wall. And those goals can be multi-layered. So, for instance, you've probably heard this thing. People don't want a quarter-inch drill. They want a
Right.
quarter-inch hole in their
Right.
wall.
Yeah.
But that's not even the whole case. Because here's the deal with jobs to be done. It's multi-layered. Anything is not just one job. For instance, I don't just want I go to the store to buy a quarter-inch drill or a quarter-inch drill bit. Sure. But I don't want the hole, or I don't want the drill. I want the hole, but I don't want the hole in the wall. What I want to do is hang a painting.
Mhm.
But I don't just want to hang a painting. I want to furnish my new home, my first apartment. But I don't just want to furnish my first apartment. I want to feel like a grown up, like I'm
Mhm.
adulting. But I don't just want to feel like I'm adulting. I want to finally show off to my mom that I'm a grown ass person when she visits my first apartment.
Yeah.
All those are goals that are part of why you go to Home Depot to buy a quarter-inch drill bit.
Yeah. Tell me about
And
your mother.
oh, that's a different podcast. Um, so that's mother brand instead of cover brand.
Yes. Yes.
Um, but that's that notion that we have jobs. We
Mhm,
want to we want to get those jobs done. Those jobs
mhm,
can be multi-layered. They're functional, like I want to hang a painting, but they're emotional. I want my home to feel like I'm a grown-ass person.
mhm,
And so, what's the job you're helping people accomplish? What's the goal you're helping people achieve? And it could be, I need to have a theme, or I need to come up
mhm.
with a thread that ties my weird ass life together, or I need to get the all my feelings out about who I've become
Yeah.
versus who I was, or I need to just let my family know who I am now.
Yeah.
So those goals would be why people are driven to hire Z Tasty Life
Mhm.
to tell their story in this way in a book, or
Yes.
maybe it's music. Maybe it's a gal went back to Sicily because she loved her family. Um,
Exactly. Yeah, we all have stories to tell, and people don't realize that there's actually more than one story to tell.
yeah, yeah,
And that's where I would love to help people unfold those different experiences to life and put them through a thread and a lens that might be, a mythical lens. Because if you
yeah,
can see your life as this wonderful hero's journey, right,
yeah,
using Joseph Campbell's words, I think you can live a much fuller life. And you can actually do the wonderful thing that you're doing so much more. If you are like the Home Depot person that's selling drills,
Uh-huh.
imagine talking to the person that's coming in and explaining all these things that you talked about. You are
Right.
that one person that's elevating this individual that's buying the drill because they want to feel like they're holy,
Yes.
wow, you are
Yes.
making a big difference in your life by buying this drill.
That's a great point because salespeople in
Yes.
particular,
Yes.
who get it, for instance, if you go to a clothing store, some are just like, well, what size do you want? You're right.
Mm-hmm.
And then some are like, how do you want to feel in that? Oh, you look
Yeah.
so this. And they're connecting all the goals
Yes.
for those
Yes.
jobs to be done right there on the floor of the store. So, Amelia, you've got two things then to
Mm-hmm.
wrap up. One is, of all your ventures,
Mm-hmm.
is helping people tell their stories, the right
Yes.
venture that you want to lead with.
Mm-hmm.
And that'll take some exploring and some exploiting and some, testing, definitely market testing. But it sounds like there's excitement for it, there's energy for it. It seems like it might be a good first place to explore.
Yeah.
And then the second one is, once you decide on, okay, that's the one thing of the 12 that you're going
Mm-hmm.
to lead with for your company or your business, how do you express it in the right way so people know what goal they're solving with it? And are you expressing it to the right people that are willing and likely to buy it? And that gets
Yes.
into more of the classic business strategy stuff, which you know so well. So you can do that.
Exactly. So actually, that's such a great point that you bring up. And I've been thinking a lot about how do I bring that old left brain into this venture. So this might be a really wonderful way to weave them together.
Yeah. Like once you decide this is the personal
Mm-hmm.
storytelling
Mm-hmm.
is the thing that you're going to try. And again, you could try two or three if you've got the
Yeah.
energy and the resources for it.
Yeah.
But if you do it, then you do the traditional business strategy work on it, which is, who's your target audience? Where
Yeah.
can you find them? How do you resonate with them? How do you express your offering to them? What's the pricing and
Mm-hmm.
all that crap?
Yeah.
Which is much more of the logical left brain stuff, which
This is super helpful. And thank you.
awesome.
And I think I look forward to experimenting on that.
I think
Yeah,
it's really cool.
that's great. This has been so helpful. It helped me come out of my head and really see it in a totally different way. So I appreciate this conversation, Ethan.
I'm so glad I could be of help to you, Amelia, and I look forward to seeing you again at Pits and Stems.
Sounds great.
All
Salute.
right. Ciao.
Ciao. Ciao.
Are you planning a big team offsite, a sales meeting, or a large company event, and you want to bring in a speaker who will blow people away? Then your first call should be Oprah. But if you can't get Oprah, call me. Also, if you got something out of this episode, think of one person who might also get something out of it and send it to them as a way of saying, hey, thinking of you.